Hi folks, this is the legislative recap for the week.
So tell us about your CR vote this week.
All right, so the continuing resolution. What happens, we're supposed to fund, this is the biggest thing we do. We take your tax money and we determine how we're going to spend it. That's called the appropriations process. When you don't get done with the appropriations process, you got to figure some way to fund the federal government, and oftentimes it's called a continuing resolution. What does that mean? That means we don't have an agreement, so what we're going to agree to is the same policy and spending from the last time it was approved. Now, the last time it was approved, Speaker Pelosi was the speaker, and I didn't vote for it. I didn't vote for it then. A whole bunch of us didn't vote for it, but suddenly now, since we can't come to an agreement, that's the only thing that we can do. Now, I will tell you, the fiscal year for the federal government runs from the end of September 30th to October, right? We're in last year's. This is for last year's spending. We're already, well, if it ended at the end of September, so we're 2 months in this year, so we're 5 months into this year already. This is last year's spending we haven't even figured out. And in that period of time, we've already had 4 continuing resolutions. So not only did I not agree with the spending the first time and voted no, they would want to hit me to vote 4 more times for that spending that I disagree with. And it's not only the spending, it's the policy for the spending. Spending for a wide open border, spending for a military that's being destroyed, spending that's overspending, causing your cost of every single thing you buy to go up 4 times. And keep in mind, this continuing resolution is to go for a week. 1 more week, which means it's not done yet. Just extends it a week, and at the end of that week, nothing's really going to change. Right? They already kind of have this all figured out, and I guarantee you, almost without fail, that what they come up with at the end of the week, I'm not going to be for it, because it's actually going to be even more spending and no policy changes. No policy change to the border, no policy change to overspending that costs the price of everything that you buy to go up, no policy changes for our military, safety in your communities, any of that stuff. So I voted no on the continuing resolution is the answer, and that's why.
What was going on with the RFK Stadium? What was the vote, and what do you think is going to happen with the stadium going forward?
So the RFK Stadium is located in Washington, D.C. It's defunct. It's in a state of terrible disrepair. There's no games or anything played there anymore, and it's just a piece of blighted property now. But it's $1 billion piece of property because of where it's located and the name associated with it, and so on and so forth. The idea was the federal government was going to essentially give control of that to the District of Columbia. Okay, that's great. They can revitalize it. They can make it into something wonderful and utilize the property. My only ask was, and it was in 2 committees, the jurisdiction was in 2 committees I serve on. My only ask is that the taxpayer not be on the hook to pay for a new stadium for the NFL. Keep in mind, the NFL is a tax-exempt organization. Many of my colleagues disagreed with that, but some did agree. But they wouldn't even allow my amendment to come to the, they wouldn't even allow that to go through the regular committee process where I could amend it that way in the committee that I serve on, which is transportation. So because of that, I voted no. If the District of Columbia wants to build a new stadium there on the site of RFK Stadium, great, good for them. But the taxpayer shouldn't be on the hook for that. If the NFL wants to move the Commanders to that stadium, the NFL can pay for it.
What was the FAA extension, and how did you vote on that?
So the FAA extension is the Federal Aviation Administration. We set up the parameters for how they operate. The House Transportation Committee passed its bill earlier this year. The Senate has not completed theirs. I don't think there's great policy in there right now. I'm hoping that the Senate can do something a little better. I don't love the extension, but I'm going to give them an extension to see what the Senate does, and maybe it'll be better. If it's not, I will vote no in the end. But I thought, well, let's make sure that we keep the FAA open and keep planes flying and see if we get some better policy and then go from there. But this was just an extension while we're at an impasse here until they pass their bill. So that's what that was about.
That's it.
And that's the update for the week. And so stay safe. God bless you, and we'll talk to you next week.